Look, a third culture kid is a human being, right? Like everyone else, with a little bit of an extra, let's say, sauce and some extra ingredients added added into the mix.
Yes,
Being no, being. I mean, look. Actually, okay. Per definition, a third culture kid is, any, I would say, adolescent or even child who was brought up or has lived a significant part of his or her life abroad, away from the home country of or passport country of his parents, his or her parents, right?
Okay.
So in my case, I'm Dimitri. I'm from Belgium originally, but I've lived in a bunch of countries. I grew up mainly, mainly in Southeast Asia. And for me, as a kid, from the age of 10 to the age of 18, I lived and studied and grew up in Singapore. It was, I think, like September, October 1995, 94. And yeah, I was probably playing with, Lego, Playmobil, or Hot Wheels. Definitely not Barbie dolls. And my sister was. And my mom just came up to me and said, "Hey, look, what do you think of the idea of living in another country?" I'm like, "I don't know." Like, it's like, "Yeah, have you ever heard of Singapore?" I'm like, "What Singapore?" Like, no. Like, so at the time, I had actually like a world map, poster of a world map. Yeah, kind of stuck on a wall. And I said, "Hey," my mom was like, "Yeah, here." Like, I'm like, "Where is Singapore?" So she showed it to me on a map. I'm like, "Okay, wow, that's interesting. Like, it's so far away." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Whoa." She's like, "Well, you know what? Your daddy got a nice job offer there, and if you want to go and Barbara want to go, then we can all move there together," kind of thing, right? I was like, okay, at the time I was just like, I was so obsessed with motorbikes at the time, like dirt bikes, like the smaller miniature version of the those dirt bikes that as kids that you ride around. I was just so obsessed with it. My friends had them. They had like the quads. They had these. So I said, hey, look, okay, mom, but I mean, if we go to Singapore, like, will I be able to, get a dirt bike, or will we have a garden so that I can like ride a dirt bike there, because that's all I'm thinking of now. Of course, my mom said yes, and then 3 months later we were in Singapore, and I obviously never got any dirt bike or any quad to ride in a garden,
Alright.
because they obviously deemed it too dangerous. But so it was interesting. That so of course I didn't think much of it as a kid. I mean, you live pretty much day to day as a kid and playing with friends. But then it did kind of, I would say, dawned upon me that the week that we were moving to Singapore, because obviously the moving company had come, taken all the furniture, and I was going to class, and my teacher was actually like prepared like a wonderful goodbye. Yeah, wonderful goodbye moment in the class. All the kids, all my classmates and friends, they gave me letters. They wrote beautiful little goodbye letters, and he made like nice drawings, and I had like a lot of like a nice like a beautiful goodbye ceremony actually. And I kept those letters forever. I still have them in my basement, and I actually reread them like a couple of years back, and I was really touched by the things that they wrote, like, "Dimi, we're going to miss you." And obviously I was in grade 5 at the time, okay, so none of our Flemish or our Dutch was good, so those letters were still full of spelling mistakes and stuff. But it was cute, and I remember then the first few, when we moved to Singapore, so we had the first few months I was still like exchanging, writing letters to my classmates in Belgium, my best friends, missing them. I remember even the teacher like crying the day we left. Me, my sister, my home-based teacher, Juffrouw Yo, teacher Yo. She had tears in her eyes, and she got along really well with my parents as well. So when they came and said bye the last day, my dad picked me up at school. It was a really touching moment. Yeah. So of course, I mean, it was totally different going from cold, rainy, gloomy Belgium, 10 years old, and hopping onto this huge, juggernaut of a like double decker airplane from Singapore Airlines. It was just wild, and then the moment we arrived to Singapore and got out of the airport, like boom, just this huge mass of humidity just hits you. It's like, so you go from one, extreme climate to like a super humid place, and of course, the 10-year-old kid, you're like, oh my god, what is this? So yeah, it was a big change. It was a big change. obviously going from Belgian traditional school, elementary school system, like going from a government school, which is very typical in Belgium, now arriving in Singapore in this amazing international school in the center of the city with kids from all over the world. I mean, I think as I told you yesterday, we had about 65 different nationalities at one stage, so was pretty amazing.
And where do you find any any difficulty connecting with kids from other cultures? I mean, how was your English? Let's start with that. Something more practical where you're able to communicate. Sure, you're Dutch, you're Flemish. Spoken was probably fine. You're written, you were working on it, but now that was no longer the case. You were the level of instruction. I'm assuming was English.
Was English, yeah. So going from a Dutch, language of instruction school to a full English speaking environment was totally new to me. Yet, at that age, you're like a sponge. You just soak it up. And honestly, the first few days, I was not really like shy or nervous. I mean, maybe it's in my personality that I'm more outgoing and I'm more of the extroverted type. So I would, already, of course, look. I remember my first friend I made was Laurent, another Belgian kid who also spoke Flemish. So of course, you kind of look for your kind of own nationalities first. It's just what you naturally do as a kid, I think.
Right.
And then I started kind of integrating or like mingling with the other kids, and there were kids from all over the world. I was friends with Scandinavian kids, with Japanese kids, with Indian kids, with my best friend was half Dutch, half Hong Kongese, and we just kind of you just and then as you make friends, you pick it up very fast actually at a young age. I think kids are way more let's say moldable and can just learn a lot faster given in any given situation.
Okay.
So I mean, I picked up English like within I think 3 months. I was speaking pretty good English.
Okay.
Within a year, I was super fluent, of course. And then,
how long did it take you for you to realize that you were very lucky? Like you started getting, because I mean, and I don't mean it in the sense of, because it would take many years for you to realize that the education that you were getting was privileged as far as being learned about a new country at the right time, always with everything is sort of going well business wise. Lots of opportunity for a very positive environment. Build growth mindset, and things are really happening in front of your eyes. A lot of activities. So it's a great time to be somewhere like that, right? But when did you realize, sort of looking at your friends and the way, I'm guessing, like going on vacation, the access to certain sports, the access to certain maybe technology was much more accessible than maybe back home. I'm assuming a few things, trying different foods from different countries, lots of different variety, access to culture. When do you realize that, hey, this is pretty amazing? Maybe not I'm lucky or whatever, but more like this is pretty amazing. Yeah, wow, really, wow.
I mean, initially, like, you don't really, give it too much thought, right? As a kid, It's just okay. You're suddenly in a new environment, international school. You have friends from everywhere. Everything's just kind of, it's like the new norm. Okay, It's a new norm. Then suddenly in computer classes. I remember we started getting computer classes from I think grade 6. And we were the first, I think, first international school in Singapore to receive those, the iMacs, the colorful ones, like with the see-through,
right?
With the see-through casing, right? And then in different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was like, prior to that, we were already using some other computers with floppy disk, and then those iMacs arrived. Like, wow, this is super cool, And at that moment, I realized, okay, this is pretty cool. But the moment I realized where I was kind of I would say privileged, but definitely in like a unique kind of learning environment was my friends from Belgium came to visit me when I had very my strongest very big childhood friend Mathieu came to visit me from Ghent, and he visited my school, and he said like, wow, Dimi, this is amazing, and so he kind of made me realize how special and truly special it was.
The opportunity, right?
Opportunity, and being in such a multilingual, multinational environment with all these facilities, and having friends from all over the world, skateboarding in Singapore, in between skyscrapers, going to skate parks, having all this cool tech stuff around, and being like really in the, I would say, on the forefront of all the craziest technological innovations, be it Discman from floppy disk to cassette recorders, to Discman, to mini discs, to the first iPods, So yeah, I mean, Singapore was always kind of at the forefront of that, and being an international school kid, I was like such a little gadget freak. You always be like wanting to be the first to get the latest gadget. So that was really special. And my friends in Belgium would like be so, envious. Of me and I would always bring the stuff back from Singapore, like bring like mini discs and all these cool gadgets back, and they'd be like, wow, Dimi, amazing, can you bring us this, bring us that? So
Right.
it was really unique, yeah. I mean, yeah, I think I started realizing it a bit later, right? Because, from the age of like 10 to 14, 15, I mean, you're just like, first years of puberty, you just think about having fun all the time, right? Not really, you're not developing too much of like this kind of, yeah, okay, you are conscious of certain things, norms, customs, traditions, but like self consciousness, my self consciousness at least, only I would say it started around 15, 16, where then I started to realize, we go back to Belgium once a year on vacation, once or twice a year during school holidays, and I would say like yeah, maybe I mean I was still meeting. I had a privilege that I was kind of maybe lucky or fortunate that my childhood friends in Belgium, you know, their parents were very good friends with my parents, so and I knew them even before moving to Singapore, and we always kept in touch. So, I'm really really grateful, and even to this day we're still super close. Still, you know. So I would kind of just come back and roll with it, and hang out with them, and then through them I met their friends, their school friends, and I was always kind of like, yeah, Dimitri, was our buddy living in Singapore, and and I was always kind of introduced like that, and people were fascinated by me,
Yeah.
by my story, and so I always felt I never felt superior, never felt kind of whatever better than them, but I did feel like a bit more special, and I guess yeah, that opened like a lot of cool doors, and I made a lot of cool friends. But a bit later in life, when I actually finished high school and then moved back to Belgium for a year, that was when I really realized, okay, I'm totally different than all these kids here. Like I'm not made for this society.
Okay.
I don't have this DNA, this yeah, these fibers in my body to live and study in Belgium. It's not me. Yeah, it felt very foreign, and I felt like I don't know. I think that's a theme. That's a topic that a lot of third culture kids go through.